Imagine waking up tomorrow morning to headlines flashing across every screen in America. Gas prices are surging. Stock markets are falling. Airlines are warning of higher ticket prices. Shipping companies are reporting delays. Grocery prices are expected to rise again. People begin asking the same question: what happened? The answer isn't in Washington, New York, or Los Angeles. It's not even in America. The answer lies thousands of miles away in a narrow stretch of water in the Middle East called the Strait of Hormuz. Most Americans have never seen it. Many have never heard of it. Yet this small waterway has the power to influence the price of fuel in your car, the cost of products in your local store, and even the stability of the global economy. Today, tensions surrounding the Strait of Hormuz continue to create uncertainty across world markets, maintaining what many analysts describe as a de facto disruption of regional energy and commercial transit flows. And that raises a disturbing question: how can a place so small have such enormous power over the modern world? To understand why this matters, we need to understand what the Strait of Hormuz actually is. Located between Iran and Oman, this narrow waterway connects the Persian Gulf to the Arabian Sea and the wider Indian Ocean. It serves as one of the most important maritime routes on Earth. Every day, massive oil tankers and liquefied natural gas carriers pass through these waters carrying energy supplies from Gulf nations to customers around the world. Countries such as Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Kuwait, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates rely heavily on this route to export their energy resources. For decades, the Strait of Hormuz has functioned as one of the world's most critical economic lifelines. Without it, moving vast quantities of energy to global markets becomes far more difficult and expensive. Think of the global economy as a giant machine. Every factory, every truck, every airplane, every cargo ship, and every distribution center depends on energy. If energy supplies become uncertain, the entire machine begins to slow down. That is why the Strait of Hormuz is often called the world's most important energy choke point. The word choke point sounds dramatic, but it perfectly describes reality. Imagine a busy highway carrying millions of vehicles every day. Now imagine that highway suddenly narrowing to just a few lanes. Even a minor accident could create massive traffic jams. The Strait of Hormuz works the same way. A huge portion of global energy trade passes through a relatively narrow corridor. Any disruption, no matter how small, can send shockwaves through international markets. Today, the concern isn't necessarily a complete closure of the strait. Instead, it's the growing uncertainty surrounding the region. Tensions continue to persist. Military forces remain highly active. Political rivalries remain unresolved. Diplomatic disagreements continue to generate concern among governments, businesses, and investors. And here's what many people fail to realize. The global economy doesn't wait for a crisis to happen. It reacts to the possibility of a crisis. When traders believe supplies could become restricted, prices often rise before any actual shortage occurs. When shipping companies perceive increased risks, transportation costs increase. When insurance providers believe vessels face greater danger, premiums climb. These costs eventually spread throughout the global economy. In other words, uncertainty itself becomes a powerful economic force. This is why the Strait of Hormuz attracts so much international attention. It's not only about what is happening today. It's about what could happen tomorrow. Every major economy on Earth understands this reality. The United States may produce far more energy than it once did, but it remains connected to global energy markets. When oil prices rise internationally, Americans often feel the impact at home. Higher fuel costs affect transportation. Transportation affects supply chains. Supply chains affect the prices consumers pay for goods and services. That means events occurring thousands of miles away can eventually affect families in Texas, Florida, California, Ohio, and every other state. Consider something as simple as a grocery store. Food doesn't magically appear on shelves. It must be grown, harvested, processed, packaged, transported, and delivered. Each step requires energy. When fuel becomes more expensive, transportation costs rise. Businesses often pass those higher costs on to consumers. The same principle applies to electronics, clothing, furniture, appliances, and countless other products. Modern economies are deeply interconnected. A disruption in one part of the world can trigger consequences across entire continents. Air travel provides another example. Airlines consume enormous amounts of fuel. When energy prices increase, airline operating costs increase as well. Companies may raise ticket prices to offset those expenses. Travelers pay more. Tourism can slow. Business travel becomes more expensive. Economic activity can suffer. This is why investors, economists, and policymakers monitor the Strait of Hormuz so carefully. They understand that what happens there rarely stays there. The strait is also important because it sits at the center of a broader geopolitical competition. Multiple countries have strategic interests in the region. Regional powers view the area as essential to their security and economic future. Global powers recognize its importance to international trade and energy stability. As a result, the Strait of Hormuz has become one of the most heavily watched waterways on Earth. Military ships patrol nearby waters. Surveillance systems monitor activity around the clock. Intelligence agencies analyze developments continuously. Governments remain alert because even a small incident has the potential to create significant market reactions. This environment creates a constant balancing act. No major power wants a severe disruption. No government wants energy prices to spiral out of control. No economy benefits from uncertainty. Yet despite those shared interests, tensions continue to persist. That reality creates a fragile situation where confidence can change rapidly. And confidence matters more than many people realize. Financial markets are driven not only by facts but also by expectations. Investors constantly attempt to predict future developments. If they believe conditions are becoming more dangerous, they adjust their decisions accordingly. Energy traders buy contracts. Businesses delay investments. Consumers become cautious. Markets become volatile. All of this can happen before any physical disruption occurs. This is one reason why the Strait of Hormuz remains such a powerful symbol of global vulnerability. The modern world depends on stability. Factories need predictable energy supplies. Businesses need reliable shipping routes. Consumers need affordable products. When uncertainty threatens those foundations, concerns spread quickly. Looking ahead, one of the biggest questions facing the global economy is whether current tensions will eventually ease or continue indefinitely. If stability improves, markets may regain confidence. Shipping costs could normalize. Energy prices may become more predictable. But if uncertainty persists, companies and governments may begin accelerating efforts to reduce their dependence on vulnerable choke points. Some countries may invest in alternative transportation routes. Others may increase strategic energy reserves. Energy companies may seek new production opportunities in different regions. Governments may strengthen domestic energy security initiatives. Over time, such adjustments could reshape global trade patterns. History shows that major disruptions often force change. When economies encounter vulnerabilities, they eventually search for solutions. However, those solutions rarely emerge overnight. Transitions take years. Infrastructure projects require massive investments. New supply chains take time to develop. Alternative routes often involve higher costs. During that adjustment period, consumers frequently bear the burden through higher prices and increased economic uncertainty. That is why the world continues watching the Strait of Hormuz so closely. It is not simply a narrow passage of water. It is a critical artery of global commerce. A single chokepoint connecting energy producers to international markets. A place where economics, politics, security, and global trade intersect. And perhaps most importantly, it serves as a reminder of how interconnected modern civilization has become. A decision made in one region can affect businesses in another. A disruption in one waterway can influence prices around the world. A crisis thousands of miles away can eventually reach ordinary families who have never heard of the place where it began. The Strait of Hormuz may appear small on a map, but its influence is enormous. As tensions continue and uncertainty remains, governments, businesses, and investors will keep watching this narrow corridor with intense attention. Because the future of global energy security, international trade, and economic stability may depend on what happens in one of the world's most important waterways. And that leaves us with a final question. If so much of the global economy depends on a single narrow passage, how long can the world afford to remain vulnerable to disruptions that could affect billions of people? The answer may shape the future of international trade for decades to come.